Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're listening to this, I'm gonna guess you're probably someone who looks at the world right now. The news cycles, the culture wars, maybe even just the dynamics in your own office.
Mhm.
And you just get this gnawing sense that the floorboards are rotting out from under us. You feel like the standard story we get fed is missing something, but polite society just
Mm.
tells you to smile and nod.
It's that feeling, isn't it? Like you're watching a slow motion car crash,
Yeah,
but you're the only one who isn't allowed to point and say, hey, look, the car is on fire.
exactly. Well, today we are not smiling, and we are definitely not nodding. We are cutting right to the bone. We're looking at a text that calls itself not a sociology book, but an autopsy of Western civilization. But before we get into that, I need you to do something right now. Hit that like and subscribe button. Seriously, just do it. The algorithm, it really hates the kind of uncomfortable truths we're about to unpack, and we need you locked in.
And today, we are navigating the very dense, very controversial ebook, Women in Power. They always use it for ruin, destroying Western civilization, fertility suppression, and lying about it, by Conrad Riker.
It's a mouthful of a title, for sure. And let's be honest, it does not pull any punches. Riker's not writing for the faint of heart. He's writing for men who've been told their masculinity is toxic while they watch institutions crumble. This is going to be an ultra-long deep dive. It's incisive, and frankly, it's fascinating. We are peeling back the layers on our institutions before they were captured.
And we should just state the thesis right up front. Riker's argument is stark. He says the decline of the West, the institutional rot, the fertility collapse, the erasure of fathers, it's not an accident.
It's not just bad luck.
No. He calls it a hostile takeover,
Huh.
a systematic dismantling of civilization by what he describes as unchecked female nature.
That is a heavy claim. Most people think of these things as separate issues. The economy's bad, and people aren't having kids, and politics are polarized.
And Riker says, no, you're missing the point. These are all symptoms of the same disease.
Right.
And to really follow along with this autopsy,
Huh.
you really need the manual. We're going to hit the highlights, but the sheer amount of data in this book
Yeah.
it's immense.
So you should go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books right now and buy Women in Power. You'll want to reference it as we go.
Yeah, definitely grab it. We're going to move fast,
Yeah.
and we're going deep.
Absolutely. Go get it on Amazon Kindle or Google Play. Okay, so let's start with the most visible symptom of the patient, the population collapse. Riker kicks off with this concept. In Chapter 2, he calls fertility suppression as civilizational warfare. Now, usually when we talk about birth rates, we hear about, the cost of living, housing, climate anxiety.
Right, the usual suspects. But Riker says that's basically a smokescreen. He frames it as a biological rebellion. The argument is that this isn't a passive result of economics. It's an active political act. When women trade motherhood for, let's say, corporate status, he argues they're not just making a personal choice, they're engaging in the slow-motion suicide of the West.
And he has some incredibly graphic examples for this. This part of the book really stuck with me. He cites this rally at UC Berkeley in 2019. The group was called No Babies, No Problem. Now, I've seen protests, but the imagery here was, well, it was something else.
It was ritualistic. They weren't just holding signs, they were handing out cupcakes with little tombstones on them.
Tombstones on cupcakes. I mean, that's beyond macabre.
And they were chanting no kids. Riker literally calls it ritualized infanticide propaganda. It's the celebration of the end of the line. He also mentions an abortion pride night where they had a piñata shaped like a stork.
The symbol of birth.
Exactly. Filled with condoms, and students just beat it to pieces.
Wow. That's not just, I don't want kids. That feels like an aggressive rejection of life itself, almost religious.
That's precisely Riker's point. It's a celebration of erasure. And he connects this campus theater to the global stats. I mean, look at Sweden. It's held up as this feminist utopia, right?
The model society.
And their fertility rate is 1.5. That is way below replacement level. They're literally dying out.
And South Korea's even worse. I saw that stat and I thought it had to be a typo.
It's not a typo. South Korea is at 0.7.
0.7.
That's a death spiral. Mathematically, a country just can't recover from that. Riker also points to China's rate plummeting to 1.0. But here's the paradox he identifies that's so fascinating. Women in Shanghai are demanding the state pay to freeze their eggs.
Wait, so they want state-funded fertility preservation for a future they are actively refusing to create right now.
It's demanding the option of motherhood while ritually rejecting the reality of it. Riker says this is the demographic weapon. You starve the future of people to maximize your own status in the present.
Okay, so if the result is civilizational suicide, How is this enforced socially? Because, I mean, most people biologically want families. Men want to build a legacy. Riker says this isn't just random, there's a social mechanism at play. Which brings us to Chapter 9 and the GSR complex.
Yeah, and this is maybe one of the most useful frameworks in the book for understanding modern social dynamics, especially for men. GSR. This stands for gossip, shame, rally.
Okay, walk us through that. How does that actually work?
Riker's argument is that female social dominance, it doesn't work through logic or debate, not how men handle things. It works through reputation destruction. It starts with gossips. One woman whispers, they create a negative narrative about a target.
Like, did you hear what he said? Or did you see that look he gave her?
Exactly that. It's subtle. But once the narrative is set, they move to shame. They collectively target the individual to isolate them.
So they make it gross or dangerous to even be associated with him.
And then finally, the rally phase. This is where they claim victimhood to get institutional support. We feel unsafe. He's creating a hostile environment.
It sounds like high school, but weaponized for the corporate and political world.
Riker says it is. He calls it immunological warfare. The group acts like a white blood cell attacking a foreign body. And this connects directly to the psychological diagnosis Riker applies to modern leftism, which is borderline personality disorder, the BPD spectrum.
Right. This was a heavy section. He's basically claiming that our modern political discourse is female-coded mental illness.
He's looking at the key traits. Emotional volatility, splitting, that's black and white thinking. You're either an angel or a demon, and a really tenuous grip on objective reality. He even quotes an activist saying, I don't need data. We have lived experience.
I have heard that phrase 1,000 times. My lived experience. It's the ultimate trump card in any argument now.
And in this book, that phrase is framed as a complete surrender of reason. It's saying how I feel about something matters more than what the numbers actually say. It's a system where truth is replaced by emotional safety. If a fact makes you feel unsafe, that fact is now considered an act of violence.
So if you state a fact, like men die in workplace accidents at a rate of 10 to 1, and that challenges the oppression narrative, you haven't just stated a fact, you've actually harmed them.
You've committed violence by stating reality.
Correct.
And Raker dives deep into the trauma bond myth here too.
Explain that, because I know trauma bonding is a real therapy term. How does he say it's being used?
He argues it's often co-opted. A woman might use the language of therapy to explain away her own bad choices or maintain control. He claims that in many cases, the woman saying she's trauma bonded is actually the source of all the chaos, but she uses that term to paint herself as a victim, which triggers the rally phase.
It's a shield against accountability. I can't be responsible. I have trauma.
Exactly. So you get this psychological profile running the show. But Riker asks a key question. If the maternal instinct is being rejected, where does that energy go? It can't just disappear.
Nature abhors a vacuum. It has to be redirected.
Right. It inverts. This is what Riker calls the maternal archetype inversion. If they're not mothering children, they start mothering the state.
Mothering the state. That sounds incredibly suffocating.
That's how it's described. The energy for raising a family gets redirected into micromanaging society. Society becomes a nursery. And in this worldview, men are seen in one of two ways. Either as naughty toddlers who need to be scolded, or as dangerous predators who need to be caged.
While women and certain minorities are positioned as the infants who need constant protection.
Yes, and you see this everywhere. In HR departments, the way they talk to employees. And Riker points to the feminization of schools as a prime example. Boys are wired to be active, to be competitive. But in the maternal state, that's pathologized. Boys are drugged to sit still, and their normal behavior is labeled toxic.
It's a system designed to break them before they even become men.
Exactly.
And speaking of breaking men, we have to touch on Chapter 6, the war on fatherhood. Because I think a lot of guys listening have felt that target on their back, especially in family court.
The stats Riker gathers here are,
Yeah.
they're damning. He basically says the whole mommy wars narrative is a myth.
The idea that working moms and stay-at-home moms are fighting each other.
Right. He says that's a distraction. He argues they unite instantly. The GSR complex activates the second a father asserts any real authority.
The tribe closes ranks against the dad.
And he cites CDC stats showing 40% of U.S. children grow up without a biological father. But he says this isn't just men abandoning their kids, it's often systemic erasure. He points to this very specific legal change in Canada where the term parental alienation was removed from family court guidelines.
Wait, removed. Parental alienation is when one parent, usually the mother, brainwashes the child to hate the other parent.
Correct. And by removing it from the guidelines, the courts are essentially saying it doesn't exist. You can't fight what you can't name. Rager also cites a study showing 78% of fathers lose visitation rights, even in cases where domestic abuse allegations against them were proven false.
That is terrifying. So the system presumes you're guilty, and even when you prove you're innocent, the maternal state still decides you're disposable.
The maternal state doesn't trust the father. It trusts itself to be the father.
Which leads us to the economic engine of all this. Riker calls it the consumer debt engine, and he connects it to the archetypes of Eve and Jezebel. Let's start with the money.
Riker argues the whole consumer economy is fueled by female spending habits, but it's backed by male labor. He cites that women control about 80% of consumer spending. But who holds the debt? Who works the dangerous jobs to pay for it all? Mostly men.
It's a wealth transfer. Men produce, women consume.
And he brings up the health paradox. Women live longer. They use about 73% of social service and healthcare funding. But the narrative you always hear is medical gaslighting.
While men are dying from suicide, overdose, workplace accidents at catastrophic rates.
Which are largely ignored. It's the BPD politics again. Feelings over facts. If I feel ignored by my doctor, that's a crisis. If you're actually dead, well, that's just a statistic.
Now, Riker connects all of this back to ancient archetypes. He reframes the story of Eve in the Garden of Eden, and this is not the Sunday school version.
No, it is not. He argues Eve didn't eat the fruit out of simple curiosity. She ate it for power, for control. And when she got caught, what did she do?
She blamed someone else.
She blamed external factors. Riker calls this the original script. Suppress reality, lie about your choices, and blame men for the consequences. And then there's the Jezebel archetype.
Power without responsibility.
Exactly. And you see Jezebel today, he argues, in the destruction of our institutions. Look at HR departments at universities. They used to be about merit or education. Now they are massive therapy groups that ship grievances instead of products.
They consume the resources built by men, demand total control, but take zero responsibility for the outcome.
It's a hostile takeover. When you put it all together, the no babies rallies, the erasure of fathers, the BPD-style leadership, it points to a civilization that's cutting its own throat.
So we've seen the autopsy report. The patient, Western civilization, is in critical condition. What does Riker say is the path forward? Is there one?
The book's ultimate message is that this is a war on reality. And, reality always wins in the end. You can't negotiate with a population collapse forever. Riker says the only path is for men to wake up and to stop apologizing for being male.
Stop apologizing. That seems to be the core of it.
He warns that civilizations die from within when women stop raising men and start raising revolutions against biology. The fertility crisis isn't a glitch. It's the system working as designed. And if you want to survive, he says you have to build counter-institutions. You have to reclaim truth and build something new that can actually withstand all this.
It's about recognizing the pattern. Once you see gossip, shame, rally, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the maternal state, you understand the laws. You stop thinking it's bad luck and you start seeing the design.
Exactly. The truth, as Riker says, is a scalpel. It hurts, but it cuts out the rot.
Listen, we have covered a lot, but this is barely scratching the surface of the data and the history that Conrad Riker put into this book. If you really want to understand the full scope of this autopsy, you cannot just listen to us. You have to read the text.
It is essential reading. It explains the why behind the what you're seeing around you every single day.
So here is your call to action. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now. Buy Women Power by Conrad Riker. Do not wait. This is the manual you need.
And for ongoing analysis, because this is all evolving in real time, you should follow the author, at Conrad Riker on Substack.
Do it. Get the book on Amazon Kindle or Google Play. Follow at Conrad My Riker on Substack.
And finally, if this discussion woke something up in you, if you've been red-pilled by what you heard, leave a comment, like this deep dive, and subscribe. We're going to keep digging into the topics they don't want you talking about.
The truth is a scalpel. Don't be afraid to use it.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.